They say before light and shadow, before time could count itself, there was only one thing, the scream. Not a scream of terror, nor of pain, but a scream that shattered silence, the cry of existence being born. And from that scream, Runeterra emerged. In the beginning, the world was not as we know it. There was no Demacia, no Noxus, no League, only the primal breath of the universe exhaling into form. The cosmos stitched itself together, a celestial tapestry of stars, voids, and energy unknown. At the center of it all, two forces awakened. The aspect of creation, radiant and infinite, spin galaxies with thought, molded light into form, and seeded the lands with the spark of life. Her name has been lost to time, but some call her Aurea. To her, beauty was law. Opposing her was the Unmaker, shadow incarnate, whose voice birthed silence, and whose touch unwound what was made. It did not destroy from malice, but from necessity, to balance, to test, to end. From their cosmic dance came conflict, no war, no, something deeper, a cosmic disagreement, a rift in ideology. Aurea wished to create endlessly, to populate the stars with life, love, and wonder. The Unmaker saw entropy as sacred. Death was not an ending, but release. When their wills clashed, Runeterra was torn from their struggle, a shard of reality hurled into the void. And from that shard, the world began. Runeterra was raw, wild, unshaked, a roiling ocean of elements and storms, with no sky, no land. So the Titans came, primordial beings formed from Aurea's essence. They forged land masses, anchored oceans, and painted stars into the void. They carved mountains with their hands and whispered trees into being. But the Titans were not alone. In the shadow of their creation, others stirred. The Watchers, beings from beyond reality, from the deep void, gazed upon this newborn world and saw something unnatural, life, and they hungered. The Watchers whispered to the shadows and opened tiny tears in the fabric of Runeterra. Through these breaches came the first corruption. Minds frayed, beasts mutated, stars dimmed. To protect their world, the Titans forged a barrier, the veil, separating Runeterra from the howling madness of the void. But it would never hold forever. As the eons passed, Aurea's creations grew more complex. The first mortals stepped into the world, elemental beings, spirit kind, and the first proto-humanoids. Among them rose the Celestials, Watchers of Fate, and then the Aspects, mortals elevated by divine spark, chosen to bear cosmic truths. Among the earliest aspects were Targus, aspect of insight, who mapped the constellations and first spoke of prophecy. Marael, aspect of flame, whose heart burned brighter than any sun. And Etrus, a warrior whose path would echo across centuries. But peace would not last. In the land we now call Shurima, the sun gave rise to the ascendant, mighty warriors blessed by the sun disk. But pride turned them to gods, and gods to tyrants. The fall of Shurima was not a moment, it was a spiral. Power corrupted, and one of them, Zereth, shattered the order with fire and fury. Across the sea, another threat brewed. In Freljord, the three sisters Avarosa, Serolda, and Lysandra waged war not just for control, but for ideology. Lysandra, tempted by the Watchers, made a pact. She opened the rift, and the void came pouring in. The Frownseen Watchers nearly consumed the world. Lysandra betrayed her sisters and buried the threat beneath endless ice. But the price was high. She became something else, something no longer bound by time. And so the cycle continued. Nations rose and fell. Heroes lived and died. Magic was discovered, forbidden, refined, and released again. From the runic wars to the founding of Demacia, from the Noxian conquest to Ionia's resistance, each event carved deeper lines into the soul of Runeterra. But history is not just made by gods and titans. It is whispered by the forgotten, so the child of Zaun who never saw the sky but changed the Undercity forever. The Vastaya who sang to the forests long after the spirits had gone silent. The Yordle who guarded a single lantern, lighting the way for lost souls. Runeterra was never just a place. It is a story. 1,000 voices. 1,000,000 wounds. A spark waiting. And now, that spark stirs again. The void grows restless. Targon's mountain shivers in the dark. Piltover reaches for stars it does not understand. Legends old and new awaken, and once more, the veil thins. So remember this tale, child of Runeterra. You are born not from chance, but from legacy. And when the time comes, when shadows rise and the scream returns, it will be your voice that answers. This is how the world began. But only you can decide how it ends.